Gotcha. Who's next?
Welcome to the Arena Hero. This is David from Unison Games Cafe. You are watching this video because you are either a loyal subscriber to our YouTube channel, of which we thank you, or you scanned the QR code on the back of your custom starter deck here. Either way, this video is meant to inform you of this deck's contents, some strategy on how to play it, and ways to upgrade it with cards you've purchased from your local game store, or that you have in your collection already. In this video, we will be discussing the Ranger class, as you can see here. This is Azalea, Ace in the Hole. More so, this video will be a great resource to those who are looking into some insight on how to play the class, how they function in the game, and some strategies that you can take advantage of. Without further ado, let's open this up and get started. Alright, when you open your deck box, you'll be presented with a ready-to-go constructed deck here in this bag. You have everything you need to play a game of Flesh and Blood right here. The rest of these cards are the remaining cards that make up the playset of every common card for this hero from Arcane Rising. That's the set that Ranger was introduced. Let's spread out all the cards in your deck and see what we got. Alright guys, a lot of stuff to focus on here, but first things first, let's focus on the hero and how we're going to play the Ranger class. What we have here is Azalea, Ace in the Hole. She is the Ranger hero with the Death Dealer weapon here. But Azalea, once per turn action. For 0, you can put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. If you do, put the top card of your deck face up into your arsenal. If it's an arrow card, it gains Dominate until end of turn. Go again. This is her knocking the Death Dealer and firing an arrow. So opt effects so that you know what's on top of your deck, or just having a bunch of arrows is the way that you're going to want to run Azalea. I feel like Azalea does better when you go tall, and what that means is that instead of shooting multiple arrows a turn like Hawkeye, you're going to want to shoot one really big arrow with some on-hit effects or Dominate like this has, so that you can really push big chunks of damage. Set up your arsenal again for next turn, and then keep on going. Azalea, Ace in the Hole. There are some cards that care about being put face up. Cards like Headshot. If Headshot's put into your arsenal face up, it gets +2. This is one of the best cards that you can hope for when you're using Azalea. This is on the top of your deck. Maybe you opted, maybe you got it on the top of your deck one way. Use her ability. Shuffle the card that's in your arsenal already to the bottom of your deck. Boom, here's your Headshot. Now it's 6. It also has Dominate. You're ready to start firing. The Death Dealer works with Azalea really well because once per turn you can pay 1. If you have no cards in your arsenal, you can put an arrow card from your hand face up into your arsenal if you do draw a card. So same idea, you could get Headshot put into your arsenal, or better yet, you could put an arrow into your arsenal with Death Dealer, then shuffle it to the bottom of your deck for later, to then use Azalea to see what's on top of the deck, put that in your arsenal. So that's another strategy that you can use as well. They work really well together. Again, opt is going to be one of the best things that you can do so that you know what's coming up, but you have plenty of arrows with different hit effects that you're going to want to see. Hamstring Shot makes it so that their attacks cost more. Ridge Rider Shot allows you to opt. So you have a lot of arrows at your disposal. She's a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, in that when you're playing constructed, you're going to want to switch cards in and out. But soon as you use Death Dealer and Azalea, or a combination thereof, to get a card that you're definitely going to want to fire out of your arsenal, that's when you start using some of your big buff attacks, like Take Aim. Next Ranger attack action you card play gets +3. Simple cards that just add to the damage so that you can shoot a really big arrow at your opponent. Arrows themselves have a rule that they have to be fired. Arrows can only be played from arsenal, and only if you control a bow. So you can't play a arrow from your hand onto the chain. They have to come from your arsenal. So this is a way to get them into your arsenal, either with Death Dealer or with Azalea. Let's take a look at the equipment that you're going to get in your deck. All right, guys, the namesake equipment piece in Arcane Rising for the Ranger is the Bullseye Bracer. Bullseye Bracer gives you an action that you can destroy the equipment. If you have no cards in your arsenal, you can put an arrow from your hand face up into your arsenal, gets +1, and go again, and you also get Arcane Barrier. Arcane Rising had the Wizard and Rune Blade that uses arcane damage, so you've got some defense against the arcane arts with the Bullseye Bracer. This is Death Dealer 2.0. If for some reason something gets out of your arsenal, or you have go again and you want to shoot another arrow this turn, Bullseye Bracer is great to do that. You take an arrow from your hand, put it face up in your arsenal, and it gets +1. A lot of the arrows are going to have on-hit effects, so that +1 is definitely awesome. That is the arm equipment of choice for the Ranger. Your chest equipment, you've got your Iron Rot Plate and your Null Ruin Robe. Pretty basic stuff, depending on if you're going against somebody who does damage or arcane damage. In the head slot, you've got your Iron Rot Helm and your Talismanic Lens. Talismanic Lens allowing you to opt to utilize Azalea's ability. Azalea caring about what's on top of your deck. If you use the Talismanic Lens prior to that, you can opt as an instant. That's not going to use up your action point. That way you can at least put something on top of your into your arsenal with Azalea that you want there, preferably an arrow. And then in your leg slot, you've got some more Null Rune in case you're going up against a Wizard or Rune Blade. And you do have Snapdragon Scalers. Gives you an attack reaction to destroy the Snapdragon Scalers. Target attack card with 1 or less gets go again. So this is something that if you have a big headshot attack, you can blow up the Snapdragon Scalers, give it go again, utilize your Bullseye Bracers, put another card into your arsenal, and shoot another arrow for a really big turn. That's the Snapdragon Scalers. Let's take a look at the cards that you're going to find in your constructed deck. Alright, first things first, let's look at some of the rares that you're going to find in your constructed deck. One of the better cards is Take Aim. Now what Take Aim allows you to do is not only is it going to buff your arrow attack, but you've got this keyword Reload. So Reload, if you have no cards in your arsenal, you can put a card from your hand face down into the arsenal. That's going to allow you to put something like a Headshot or a Hamstring Shot, any arrow that you have face down into your arsenal, so that you can then shoot the arrow from your arsenal. The next Ranger attack action card you play this turn gets +3. It's going to give this +3. You got a big ol' 8-power Hamstring Shot coming toward your opponent. The biggest utility of it, I think, is the Reload keyword. That's why we do have the blue ones in here as well. Doesn't necessarily matter for the +1. That's an added bonus. But just getting that card into your arsenal. Sometimes we put a defense reaction in our arsenal. Sometimes you don't want to use Death Dealer for whatever reason. You don't have the resources. Take Aim is another way that you can either shoot multiple arrows a turn or just get something into your arsenal. Maybe there's a card that you want to save for later. You can play Take Aim, put it into your arsenal, use Azalea to put it on the bottom of your deck, and then continue with your turn. That is Take Aim, rare card for the Ranger. We've got a 1 of Silver the Tip. Just for its utility, Silver the Tip is going to allow you to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, if you have no cards in your arsenal, and put an arrow card from among them face up in your arsenal. So you got that face up ability, things like Headshot that care about being face up, but it's kind of like an opt. You go look for 4 cards, grab an arrow, you got plenty of them in the deck, you're going to find one, put that in your arsenal, you got go again, so you can shoot that arrow out. And then on the defense reaction side, you've got cards like Take Cover. So in Take Cover, not only are you going to defend with the defense value because it's a defense reaction, but you have that reload ability to set up for your turn. So the reload is going to put a card from your hand face down. This is also a great thing because it doesn't have to be an arrow when you reload. So if you have no cards in your arsenal, you can put a card from your hand face down into your arsenal. So you can take cover to then put something like a Springboard Somersault or something that cares about being in your arsenal, spoiler alert, a card like Plunder Run, to set up for your next turn. Let's call that a segue, and we've got a 2 of Plunder Run. So Plunder Run, the next time an attack action card you control hits, draw a card. That's great. We want our arrows to hit. If it's played from Arsenal, the next attack action card you play gets +2, go again. So play Take Cover, reload a Plunder Run into your arsenal. Next turn, you Plunder Run out of your arsenal. The next arrow you attack is going to be +2, and if it hits, go again. Utilize your Azalea or your Death Dealer, or your Bullseye Bracers, put that headshot into your arsenal, coming at for 6, 7, 8. If it hits, you draw a card. All sorts of fun things can happen. Again, big attacks coming from the Ranger. That's what you want to do with this deck. Those are the rares. And then as a preview from Crucible of War, they introduced a line of cards called Traps. So again, with defense reactions, these are traps. Traps can only be played from Arsenal, so this is a great card to reload, or just to prepare for your opponent's turn. And they all have an interesting hit effect. So something like the Tripwire Trap, hit effects don't trigger this chain unless they pay 1. So something like, if this hits, draw a card. If this hits, destroy your arsenal. Something like that. Anything that says, if this hits, they're going to have to pay an additional resource. Like I've said in earlier videos, this is a game of inches. Sometimes they don't have the one resource to pay, or a warrior needs that extra resource to attack with their sword again. Having them pay additional resources to do what they want to do is sometimes the difference between winning and losing. Pitfall Trap deals 2 damage unless they pay 1. Again, forcing your opponent to pay extra resources to not take damage. That's a good thing. And then Rock Slide Trap, target attack action gets -2 unless they pay 1 as well. So not only are you going to block for 2, but force them to go down 2, so that almost blocks for 4 unless they pay additional resources. The traps are very cool if used properly against your opponent. Let's take a look at the other cards that you're going to find in your starter deck. We're going to start off with a preview card from Crucible of War. We call them preview cards because it's just a single playset of one of the choice cards that you could find in Crucible of War. Pathing Helix is everything that you want to do as a ranger. If Pathing Helix hits and you have no cards in your arsenal, you can put a card from your hand face down into your arsenal. Great way to arsenal something like a Plunder Run for a future turn, something like a trap so that you can go on the defensive, or if you manage to get go again, the ability to attack with a Pathing Helix for 4, reload an arrow, and then shoot that arrow after that. Pathing Helix is super cool. You have a playset of the yellows and the red headshots. This is going to be one of your bread and butter attacks. If it's placed into the arsenal face up like Azalea does, it's going to get +2. So that's going to be 6 from that red headshot. Another one, Hamstring Shot. We talked about forcing your opponent to pay additional resources. If Hamstring Shot hits a hero, the first attack their next turn costs an additional 1. Forcing your opponents to pay 2 to attack with their weapon, or something that costs 0 for them to pay 1 to attack with, can really put them in a bind. You got 3 of the red Ridge Rider shots. If Ridge Rider Shot is put into your arsenal face up, opt 1. Great card to place into your arsenal face up, using like Azalea, and allowing you to opt so that you know what's coming up, should you want to use something else. If this was placed into your arsenal face up, and you have a way of using Azalea, now you know what you're going to get with her. Always opting is good. Now, what we have here is your Salvage Shot. Salvage Shot is great because it gives you more opponents to pay 2 to attack with their weapon, or something that costs 0 for them to pay 1 to attack with. Can really put them in a bind. You got 3 of the red Ridge Rider shots. If Ridge Rider Shot is put into your arsenal face up, opt 1. Great card to place into your arsenal face up, using like Azalea or something, and allowing you to opt so that you know what's coming up, should you want to use something else. If this was placed into your arsenal face up, and you have a way of using Azalea, now you know what you're going to get with her. Always opting is good. Now, what we have here is your Salvage Shot. Salvage Shot is great because it gives you more gas. The biggest thing about Ranger is that she has the only weapon that doesn't have a attack value. So in a weird turn, you can't just say, all right, I'll shoot you with your bow for 1. You always need arrows. Salvage Shot, if it hits, you put it on the bottom of your deck as soon as it resolves. So you can get these back. So you'll always have some ammunition. As you see with a lot of these cards, there's on-hit effects. Searing Shot, if it hits a hero, they lose 1. So think of this as dealing 5 damage for 0 resource. Searing Shot has that added effect. Losing a life you can't prevent. So something that like a damage prevention effect, that's going to go through, which is really cool. Sic Em Shot has that go again that we're looking for. So playing Sic Em Shot from your arsenal getting the go again and then leading with a Pathing Helix that allows you to put another card into your arsenal could be super good. Really set up a turn, get a couple attacks in during your turn, and then set up your defense. And then beyond that, we've got a bunch of cards that kind of set big, tall arrow turns. First being Ravenous Rabble. We play a lot of reds and yellows, so this, having go again, is a great attack to just lead, to see if you can get some defense out so that you can hit with your arrows, because a lot of our arrows have on-hit effects. Ravenous Rabble, coming out of the arsenal or coming out of your hand, going to lower a little bit of power, maybe 1, maybe 2, but it's still going to be a 3 damage attack in most cases. With go again, trying to force some cards out of your opponent's hand. Then we can follow up with some big arrow attacks. Other cards to make sure that those arrow attacks are indeed big. Come to fight. Your next attack action card you play this turn gets +3. Go again. Super simple, but you play come to fight. You play a headshot. Face up. That is a 9 damage headshot coming at your opponent. And then very similar to come to fight is Foresight. Next attack action card you play this turn gets +3. If it was played from Arsenal, you can opt 2. Foresight coming out of your Arsenal lets you opt 2. So we already got +3 coming on the next attack. Opt 2. Put that arrow on top. Azalea that arrow into your Arsenal. Now it has +3. Maybe it's got +2 because it's a headshot. Again, coming in with a big 9-shot attack. There's other classes that come in for big attacks like 9, 10 damage, whatever it might be. But they do it very few times during the game. What we're trying to do here with the Ranger is really do that every turn. And I think you have the tools to do so. Alright guys, let's talk about ways that you can upgrade this deck. I think 2 of the best cards that you can use to upgrade this deck are Azalea specializations. The first one in Arcane Rising is Red in the Ledger. This is one of her specializations. It is an arrow attack, so you're going to be shooting it out of her arsenal. But coming in for 5 damage, if this hits a hero, they can't play or activate more than 1 action during their next turn. Shuts down Ninja, shuts down Mechanologist, really stops any go again. Warrior, it hurts. Anyone that's trying to do multiple things in their turn. So maybe not the Brute, maybe not the Guardian, but this hurts a lot of heroes if it hits. And the way we're playing this deck, adding something on like +3, like a come to fight, coming in for 8 is no joke. Gonna force your opponent to defend heavily with it, but if you use Azalea and give it dominate, they're gonna get that hit in. Another card looking at Crucible of War, which is not an Azalea specialization, Remorseless. So Remorseless, same thing, costs 1, 5 damage coming in, but if it's put into your arsenal face up, defense reactions can't be played from arsenal to Remorseless chain link. So if you see your opponent put something in arsenal, maybe that's a springboard somersault, maybe it's unmovable, and they're trying to block your next arrow attack, this gets around that. And if it hits, during the next turn, whenever they play an action, they lose a life. So this is going to be more damage. Again, you're going against the ninja, and they're doing multiple actions, they're not going to want to lose 4 life to hit you with Kodachis and some of their smaller attacks. So Remorseless, a great way to get back into the game, especially against some of those classes that want to go wide and attack you multiple times. Those are a few of the cards I would be on the lookout for from your local game store, or you can head to www.unisongamescafe.com and see if we have them in stock. Other than that, guys, this has been the starter strategy video for the Ranger class. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more Flesh and Blood content, and we'll see you in the arena.